Welcome back to MDL Crochet for this week's Friday video. And in this video, I'm going to show you how to work with beads. Now, there are different types of beads. There's pony beads, there's smaller beads, there's beads that you're not going to be able to use a small diameter hook to help you with, or there's beads that aren't even going to be able to get threaded onto yarn. Now, with those are a lot harder. You have to use a smaller yarn. I'm using a 4-weight with a 6.5mm hook for this tutorial. So let's talk about what we are going to be doing. We're going to add beads. I'm going to show you 3 common ways that people do beads. 2 of them actually push the beads to the back of the product, and you don't really want that. You want your beads to be seen, right? So the last one I will show actually shows you and teaches you how to get the beads into the front post, so that way your beads are there and visible. There are other ways to do beads, such as cross-stitching and actually sewing the beads into the work. That's just a lot more work when there's other ways to accomplish that goal. I use pony beads and some smaller faux pearls just because I wanted to show you how to do different diameters. And of course, there's a lot smaller out there. So use the type of yarn that is adequate for those smaller beads. And remember, if you could like and subscribe this, it'd be greatly appreciated. And leave me a comment. And everybody knows I like to chit chat, so leave me a comment, we'll chit chat. But now let's get into it. So as I said, we're going to be learning how to work with beads. Beading in Tunisian is actually pretty easy. You don't really have a lot to worry about with this. There are several ways to do beads, and I'm going to show you 2 of the most easiest ways to do beads. Now, if you're using pony beads, you'll need a very, very small crochet needle. This is a 2.25mm, and the reason why is because it goes right into it. Or you can thread them, and if you're going to thread them, you're going to need a darning needle. And you'll just take your strand, go ahead and thread it through, just like that. Take your beads, and these are a lot smaller beads, and I'm going to be showing you how to do 2 different sizes, and it's pretty much the same way for every bead, but you'll just put it on there and thread them onto your line like I have done here, and you'll just keep pushing them down. Now for this line, this is going to be for another way I'm going to show you. So I'm going to put a knot into it and put a couple beads on here so you can see how to do it. It's pretty simple to just put them on and bead it down the line. The hard part with these smaller ones is to actually find the hole. Now you're going to find some beads that are actually even smaller, and you're going to probably have to end up using an actual sewing needle to throw it on to your yarn. Now there's a way you can do that. You can take some normal thread, or you can even go smaller and use some of these threads and just thread it. Put your needle on it. Put the bead down until it gets to the smaller floss or yarn, and then just kind of work it onto this yarn. It'll be a little tight and snug, but you're not going to lose anything. I'm going to put a couple more on here. And there we are. That's enough right now for this demonstration. You're going to need, like I said, you're going to need a darning needle so you can thread them on like I did here and here. If you're going to do it a different way, like I said, there's 2 ways, and it's a 2.25mm hook is what I used. Something like very small enough to get into the pony beads. Okay, so now I worked up a little bit of a swatch here, and what we're going to do is we're going to show you a few ways to do this. So this is what I will do. So you can go ahead and you can grab your bead. It is a slower process, and you're wanting to pull your bead through your front post. And there you are. It's in the front post. It's going to be a little off-centered, but that is fine. And it's just because of the bead is why it's making it off-centered. But that is fine. We'll do another one. If I can grab it. And right here is where we'll do the other one. And just kind of push it up there so that way when you go to pull through, you can just push it right on through. And it pushes right on through with you. Okay? That's how simple it is. Now the other way, and I'm going to do a gap of 2 here so we can see the other way, requires some moving around. And that moving around entails dropping what you're doing, getting your bead, grabbing this loop right here. You're going to grab it, pull it up a little bit, loosen it up, take the bead, push it right over. And then you take your needle out, rehook it, and tighten it up. The thing about this one, yes, it's centered. However, it's also in the back. Whereas the other ones, as you can see, they're not in the back. We'll do a couple more this way, and then we're going to do another row, and then we'll do a couple more with the other smaller type beads. And I'll show you how to get those on, because obviously this needle is not going to fit in the hole. You can see how tiny that hole is. It is very small, and you're not going to be able to fit into it. And I'll show you how to handle that type. Alright, so we're going to go ahead, and that's the other thing with the bead. When you do the bead through both the front and back post like this, it gives you a little bit of a, I don't know, a bump in the road, so to speak. It slows you down just a little bit. Okay, and this is where we're going to do the next bead. So go ahead and grab your needle, put your pony bead on, go through the loop so you can just pull the single loop up. You're going to hook it, you're going to grab your pony bead and just pull right on through. And then over your needle, put it back on your needle, tighten it up a little bit. But try to maintain your normal tension. And like I said, because it's on both, it's going to give you a little bit of a resistance when you're trying to push down and get back into that next slot. So it's one of those that you gotta want to do it that way. But it does add a lot of really pretty detail to objects. Now remember, when we're at the end of a row, just drop down, because we're closed off this row right below it, right? Where it's nice and tight and right below the loops. So just drop down, fold your work, and you're going to go right where you need to go at the end. Pull up a loop, chain 1, and then pull through 2. I can't grab the yarn, but just pull through 2 all the way down to the end. You only have 1 loop left on the hook. And you can use this with any type of bead. Of course, the smaller the bead hole, the smaller the yarn you're going to have to use. You can use the thicker yarn. I am using a 4, and I'm using a 6.5 millimeter hook, my favorite. But you can use any size yarn that is decent size for the beads. Now, these beads are going to be a little bit loose until we start adding on to it. So let's go ahead and pull up a whole row of just simple stitches so I can show you how it tightens up. Boom, there you are. See, it's tightened up now. Now we're just going to go keep on going. And those ones tightened up. And then these are the other ones we slipped over the actual post, both posts. They're the ones that's going to be able to be seen through both sides, as you can see right there. The first two, not so much unless I push through, but the first two, not so much, but these, yes. So if you're going to be putting it on a headband or an ear warmer, you need to be cautious about that because of that reason. That can hurt, especially if it's a little too tight. It can actually, hurt. And they are plastic beads, so you got to be careful when you wash them. Wash the product. Okay, I'm about to, as soon as we close off this row, I am going to show you how to do the other method with the smaller diameter beads, or the smaller hole beads, however you want to call it. Remember, we just finished off this row, so drop down, fold in. You're going to end up, if you drop down to that row and you fold over, you're going to end up right where you need to be. And you're there. Pull up a loop, chain one, and then pull through two all the way down to the end. And you can do this on any type of project you want to do it. If you want to put it, make your project into a grocery bag or produce bag, ear warmers, I put them on ear warmers, but I make sure I'm not going into the part that hurts their ears. If you want, let's see, I got some splitty yarn, and this is always big twist yarn that I use. Big twist does have a little bit of a, not so much of a twist, but for me, I like the feel of it. Okay, now this part, this is how we're going to add the beads for the next part. Okay, these are the little more diameter ones. You can see the difference between the two on here. You've got the pony beads that slide all over. And of course, the smaller diameter ones are pretty snug. So what we're going to do is I'm going to put in a couple simple stitches. And simple stitch is the easiest one to do this with. You could do it with knit. You could do it with the full stitch. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and show you how to do the smaller type beads. And I'm going to pull up a couple more simple stitches. And we're going to go ahead and do that. So we're here. We're going to go ahead and move one of these beads up. And we're going to yarn over, pull through, and go ahead and give that a little nudge, let it come on through. I'm going to show you another way here in a moment of adding beads. So go ahead and do I'm going to do a couple more Tunisian simple stitches. Okay, now we're going to do one more. So let's go ahead and pull the smaller diameter bead up. Okay, we're going to go here. Go ahead and pull up a stitch and push it right on through, and we're there. It went through because it's on this side of the needle. And then we're going to pull up a couple more simple stitches because I want to show you another way, especially with these smaller diameters. Now you've got your needle here, And if your beads are smaller, the diameter is so much smaller and you can't even thread it, or you can't use a needle, there is another way. Or especially if you don't have the space to have all this extra weight on your yarn, the other way is very simple. You can take it out, you can stretch it out a little bit, your loop that you pulled up. Okay, pull out your needle. Don't lose this. You can take your already threaded some, move those down because you only want one on here, right? Show you a really easy way. Now you're gonna pinch your yarn, and you're gonna pinch it on both sides, like that. Take your needle, go through, because you don't want to go. You're pinching it because you don't want to put your needle through the yarn that's already in there. And then you just pull, and guess what? Now it's on there. It's off of there. Very easy. Especially if you're just wanting to add a few and you don't have, you can't deal with all this extra weight on your line. And the weight can get a little annoying. We'll do it one more time. So let's go ahead and put up 2 more simple stitches. And there's no set size I'm doing. I'm just doing this to show the beads, and I chose the red color just because I wanted to show the different types of beads that like black ponies and the white faux pearls. Okay, we'll pull up one more simple stitch. Go ahead and stretch it out a little bit, and there is no race to get any type of project done in Tunisian. If you're racing to get something done in Tunisian, I can tell you, you're going to end up with an issue such as like I did with a blanket that I was rushing to get done. It gave me tennis elbow. So I took a few weeks off of crocheting. So go ahead and pinch your yarn. So it's on each side, and they're both going the same way. So that way when you put your needle in, you're not crossing, you're not doing anything. And you can take your needle when you're inside, you can feel the inside of the bead and kind of just push against that wall that you know it's opposite side of it. And then just thread it through and push it down. That's all it takes. It is pretty simple, and it's even simpler if you follow the same way you're taking your yarn out. And we all have scrap yarn, so why not put it to use? Okay, so we're gonna do one more row. I'm gonna finish off this row. I'm gonna do another row of regular simple stitch, and then I am going to show you the third way that is easy to put beads on. Alright, I've already went ahead and I completed another row just to give us a gap. And you can see the ones that we kind of pushed through of the smaller ones are in the back. I did that as an example. The ones that we slipped over are also facing in the front and back. Now, there is another way to do beads. I'm going to go ahead and throw a couple of stitches up. And there we go. Now go ahead and move a bead up. And we're just going to keep it there. We're going to go ahead and pull up a stitch and just keep it right there. And you can see it's there. And that's another way you can do beads. Okay, we're going to do another. And we're just going to keep it there. Because when we pull up a stitch, it's going to be there, but it's going to be more now because of where it's at. It's going to be more in the middle of the stitches. And we'll do couple more. Just leave it there. You know, let it hang, let it do its thing. And then a couple more stitches. Okay, now one more. Pull that out. Go ahead and put one more up. And go ahead and pull up the loop and just leave it. Don't even bother. Don't push it through. Do not push it through. And then I'm going to go ahead and close this row off and do 2 more simple stitch rows right on top of it so you can see what that does to them. Now I'm going to tell you the best and simplest way that I personally think is great for beads is trying to keep it on that front post, because when you're pulling up loops, you are creating a front post. You got the front and you got the back. So if you can, it's going to slow you down, and that's just the nature of these. Now you take it and you want to keep it as close to the front post as you can. So tighten it up as much as you can and keep it there. And pull up some more loops. And again, I'm going to show you again. And this is just, I think, is the best way to do it. It keeps it on the front loop. Alright, so we go ahead and you pull through. Pull that yarn through and pull that through, right? And you see how I twisted there. That's what you don't want to do. So you're going to go through, pull your yarn. Just pull the yarn. Okay, so we don't want it on that side. So you know it's got to be on this side of your needle. So pull through. And now when you push through, it's going to be on the front side. We'll do it again. So pull up a few more loops. Okay, and we'll do it right here. So what we want is we want it to be on this side of the loop, not back here. So it's right here. And these pony beads are a little loose, so they keep falling down. But go ahead. So it's right here. And remember, like I said, just push it. And there it is. It's on your front loop. Because if it's on the back loop, it's going to be on the back. These are just going to show. So we'll do it one more time. 1, 2. Let's get that pony bead up here. And again, when we're pulling up a loop, we don't want it on the back side of our loop like here. Oh, come on, Michael. There we go. You don't want it there. Because again, you can see where they're ending up. And I'm giving you plenty of examples of how to do it and what not to do. So, with it on the back side, it does nothing for you, right? So, what we're going to do is move it down a little bit, because when you put your needle through and your yarn over, you want it to be on the opposite side of the yarn over. You don't want it on this side. You want it on this side. So you'll pull through. Go ahead and just, while you got the loop still on your hook, and you just push it right on through, and you're in the front. That is it. That is how you add beads. I know I went a long way about explaining it, and you can see some of these that we pulled through, how they went in the back. The ones that we looped over, that we used this method, are in the front and the back. This is also by using that method. These two are, and they're in the front and the back. And then these two I did as this method, where you got to make sure they're on the front post. And that is how you use beads. Now, The other method that we used for these 4 beads, which you can barely see, was the ones where we just left them after we didn't pull them through the loop. They ended up all in the back. I'm going to finish off this row and do a couple more rows so you can actually see this row. So I'll be right back. Okay, I did do a couple more rows so you could see how the ones that we made sure were on the front post are still there. And they're not back here where all these others have went. These two and these two are used by doing this method or this method, where you're pulling up both at the same time. The front and the back, the whole entire loop, sliding it on. So it's going to be on the front and the back. This method and this method was being pulled through the loop and being pushed, which made it go into the back. And it's in both. It's in the front and the back, but it's more in the back, as you can see. Same with these. And you see a whole row that disappeared because they're all in the back. And that's not what we want. When you're doing beading, you want your beadwork to be up the front. And this is method number 3 is the best method to do beads. There are a few other methods that you could use, and that is pretty much almost being like cross stitching, but that's just more work. So method number 3 is the best. Method number 3 is the best method to add beads to your work. So with that being said, I hope you found this tutorial insightful and enjoyable. And I hope you learned something today. And with that being said, keep stitching.